introduce Mike Rodgers? Okay. George Shire is here to introduce Mike Rodgers for the James C. Melby Historian Award.
Thank you, JJ. You know, we've got a theme going here tonight. We can tell it's about history, 54th annual CAC. Tony Villano actually helped me a little bit just now by mentioning the brick and mortar buildings, the halls of fame that recognize the history, the treasured history of pro wrestling. And it was back in 2007, our good friend Jim Melby, who was absolutely one of the greatest wrestling historians ever. The thing about wrestling historians is we are very, very stubborn in that we want professional wrestling to be remembered the way it happened, not the way some people want to remember it. And we always are very stubborn in that it will be right or we will not publish it or talk about it. And there's a dedicated group out there. And the reason this award came about originally was because Jim Melby was a man who got into wrestling results. Now I've run into people that say, well, what do you care about wrestling results for? Somebody won, somebody lost. But I've learned over the decades, 5 decades, that I study results along with all of the other fellow historians. And when you look at the results history of a professional wrestler, depending on how long their career was, it tells a story. You know what town they were in, what opponent they were against, where they were in a particular program with that opponent. You know their tag team partners, you know their breakups, their feuds, it just so much tells you in those stories, and all the travels they made when they were in the open or when they were in the main event. When they were leaving, you knew they were losing, they were going to a new territory. And back in those days of the territory, these guys were all over the place all year long. And so in 2007 at CAC, I said, we need to honor Jim, because he was the one that taught us, the historians, that how important recording history is and remembering it as it was, and honoring all the guys in this business and the ladies that worked so hard every night of the week, sometimes more than 300 times a year, 365 days in a year. And I remember Harley Race said one time he worked 380 days. Figure it out. But we wanted to pay homage to the historians. So we came up with the Historian Award. And Jim, because he taught us all things, obviously it carries his name. For the past 12 years, we've honored 10 historians, and each year we put out a ballot with so many great qualified people. Tony mentioned that when he's starting the Hall of Fame, he's looking to the historians to tell him what happened with certain wrestlers. Were they here? What's their story? You know, give us background. And he says, we hope they're telling us the truth. Well, I can tell you from my heart that, and I'm proud of this, being a historian, if it's not true, you'll never hear it being told. And if it is told wrong, we're going to get in your face and fix it. Because we want it recorded, and we want the boys and the ladies to all be honored the way they should be. So that brings us to this year. Each year we hold a ballot, and we try to come up with the best candidate each year. And this year, I'm honored to be able to present this year's award winner. And I'm going to let him tell you about himself, but he is a most deserving historian who lives by the creed that if it isn't right, we don't print it. And I'm very honored. He's been a friend of mine for, 5 decades as well. And it's really a privilege and an honor to present this award as the 2019 James C. Melby Historian Award winner, Mr. Mike Rodgers.
Oh my. I've been to a lot of Cauliflower Alleys, dating all the way back to Los Angeles. And I never imagined that I'd be standing up here speaking in front of you. And for my name to be mentioned in the same idea as Tom Berg and George and Scott Teal and Dave Meltzer, Vance Nevada, Steve Yohe, Don Luce, Dennis Brent. I am so honored and so humbled. My wife, though, she keeps me grounded. When I let her know that I was going to earn this award, she said, "You're getting an award for going in your room and typing?" In the early 80s, a very good friend of mine who's sitting at my table, Ken Hamlin, was publishing a bulletin called Ring Around the World. And I helped him. He did a good job. And I said, "Ken, I want to start a bulletin, just a regional, small Northwest bulletin called Ring Around the Northwest." So I did. It was 3 pages, 50 cents, May of 1983. It was horrible, and I loved doing it. I loved doing it. Eventually, I got a computer. It was on the typewriter when we started. I got a computer, it expanded to 10 pages, and I started doing interviews. And I thank all the people who trusted in me to do an interview. There's probably about 10 people in this room who I had a chance to interview. And I interviewed everybody from Lou Thez to Daniel Bryan. And I published that silly little newsletter for 30 years. When I was in college, I went into the library and I went into the microfilm room, and I discovered that they had the newspapers in there. And of course, I was looking for wrestling results. And when I came out of that room 2 months later, I had every result from Portland, Salem, and Eugene for the past 50 years. I'd flunked out of school, but eat this, Western Oregon. I typed those up and entered them into the computer, and when I finished, I enjoyed myself so much. I loved learning the history. I loved learning who'd been in the Pacific Northwest before of what I was aware of. So I took all my mail, all the bulletins that I'd ever gotten. I never threw any of it away, right, hon? Never threw any of it away. And I started putting it in envelopes by years. And I'd go through a year, and I would come up with Florida, 1981, Stampede, 1977, and I'd enter every result that I had available. And I just kept doing that for 25 years, till I have, and I borrowed. I like to use the word I compiled. I stole everything. I have the backbone of the history of wrestling. And I'm very proud of that. Last year, before I came to Cauliflower Alley, my wife opens my door of my wrestling room. I bet we've all got wrestling rooms. And she peeks in there, and she says, "You know, if you go before I go, I'm just pulling up a dumpster." And I thought about that, and I thought, that's fair. And I came and I talked to Tom Burke last year. I sat down with him, we had coffee. I told him that story. And he said, we came up kind of with an idea, and he said, we need to share that. We need to share that as much as possible. So I have no technology ability, but I got some flash drives and I sent them out. I sent them out to George and Scott Teal and Tom Burke and Brian Last and Dave Meltzer and as many people as I thought would appreciate it. And another one, Tim Hornbaker, it's on Legacy of Wrestling. He's trying to put up all that information. And it's so important. It's why we're here. We want to remember everything that we appreciate. We wanted to be remembered so the next generation of Scott Teal, Tom Burks, George Shires, Steve Yoes, they don't have to start over. They can, the basis of, I like to say it's a puzzle that will never be finished, but we've got the outline. A couple thank yous before I go. Shout out to the 605ers. Dean Silverstone, I know I wouldn't be standing up here if it weren't for you. I appreciate your friendship. I wish Ed Moondog Moretti were here. I love him like a brother. Becky's been a heel in my story, but I got a Turner. Right now. If we make it through tonight, we'll have been together 30 years this summer. There's a photo, it's one of Scott Teal's books, and I had hoped that it would make it in the montage. It didn't, but that's okay. Buy Scott's book. And on page 139, Dean Silverstone, we were at a reunion, and at the reunion was Jim Melby. Got a chance to meet him. And Dean set up this picture. It was myself, J. Michael Kenyon, and Jim Melby and Dean. We were holding a Scott Teal publication, and it was set up like we were arguing over a point of fact. And when Dean set that up, I thought, this is a neat picture. I'm really happy to be in this picture. And now, 20 years later, I'm so proud of that picture. I'm so proud to have met Jim Melby, and I'm so proud of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.